Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to give you about 15 to 20 seconds to have the little ones leave the room before I start my live stream. This will not be a restricted live stream, but I just want to make sure that all the little ones are out of the room before I start with this live stream. As you enter, please hit the like button, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much in advance for joining me on this live stream. I'm not going to stay too long, but I do want to get this out and I want to make sure that everything that I say comes through very, very clear. I do not want to be, um, I don't want to make the mistake of having people interpret what I say the wrong way because I want everything that I say to be heard clearly and accurately because I make no apologies for the words I'm about to say, and I will not backtrack from anything that I say in this live stream. But I will be as respectful as need be. But when there is no respect shown, I will not show it, and I will not kowtow to anybody in any race, creed, gender, or nationality. I will not do it. So if you expect something to be politically correct, then this is not the live stream for you. But enough of that. Um, it is very disheartening to see what's been going on. You know, the rioting and the looting is one thing, and it is very sad. I will say that. I mean, I certainly won't condone rioting and looting, but it is awful ironic that when it comes to other groups of people, they're not told, these so called people need to stop rioting. These so called people need to stop doing this. They need to do this XYZ way. We are the only group of people, the so called black, so called African American people here in this country, we are the only ones told how to conduct their business. Oh, well, you need to do it this way. You know what? When's the last time another nationality of people were told, well, you guys need to protest this way? I'm waiting. And I guess I'll still be waiting because that doesn't happen to any other group of people. That doesn't happen in the Jewish community. It does not happen in the Italian community. It does not happen in the LGBTQ community. It only happens in the so called black, so called African American community. And trust me, I am certainly not condoning anybody looting or rioting and destroying anybody's property. I am not for that. In fact, we most of us should know that these are people infiltrating peaceful protests and turning and changing the narrative, much as what happened during when Colin Kaepernick was kneeling. And it's funny, you don't hear these people talking about, oh, you disrespected the flag. Oh, you see, Colin Kaepernick, look what you did. Well, he looks like a prophet right now, doesn't he? Because all this time, and if you've looked at any of my past videos when I've talked about Colin Kaepernick and talk about the kneeling, it's always been about this. But yet and still, you have certain people who still defend these so called race soldiers. And before I start to hear, well, not all these cops are doing that, I understand that. But guess what? We're not talking about them right now. We are talking about the actual ones who have destroyed people's lives, like George Floyd, like Sandra Bland, like Trayvon Martin, like Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. I mean, the list goes on and on. Patrick Dorsman. You know what? I could make a huge list just out of the people that have been killed by the race soldiers in New York City alone. I could go by that. But of course, right now, it is about George Floyd. Uh, Dale, the good cops, they drum off the force. For the most part, you're absolutely right. And I don't want, and let me tell you also, I don't want to hear about, well, some of them stay silent. Well, if they stay silent, they're not good cops. So miss me with that garbage. And they have effectively changed the narrative. Because instead of talking about the police brutality and the murder, the senseless murder of George Floyd and others, but right now this is particularly just for George Floyd. Instead of talking about that, they're talking about the looting and the rioting, which has absolutely nothing to do with this young man's death. And you know what? Here's a novel idea. Why don't you stop killing us? Maybe there won't be any rioting, looting, or any type of display whatsoever. How about that? But I guess that makes too much sense, huh? I mean, I find it quite simple. I mean, last I checked, 1 + 1 still equals 2. I mean, quite simple. No killing, no need to protest. Wow. Very novel idea, isn't it? But of course, once the marching, which was at one time very silent, well, not silent, excuse me, but very peaceful. But then you have certain people, whether they're undercover cops, whether these are people from outside of our community who decide we're going to ruin what we have, and you know that happens a lot when it comes to our people. Or, you know what, these are just disgruntled, some of our so-called people who figured, you know what, this is my excuse to loot, pillage, and destroy. Or a combination of all three, which is what I'm going with. Well, unfortunately, so far their mission has been accomplished because they are basically talking about anything but George Floyd's horrific death. And the worst part is we're getting our butts handed to us yet again because the huge slap in the face that nobody or very few people are talking about is the fact that, number one, there's only been one person arrested due to this. And I'm not going to mention his name. I mean, he's just racist piece of garbage number one. That's who he is. Where they have not arrested racist piece of garbage 2, 3, or 4 yet. Because remember, there were 4 cops who were there. One who obviously applied the knee to the back of his neck, and the other 3 who watched. So, if these people were truly wanting justice, all 4 of those people would be arrested. And before I even go any further with that, if I see one more white person kneeling, well, listen, like I said, all 4 of them should be arrested. If I see one more of that, oh, we're sorry, oh, we're kneeling with you, you know what? Keep your apology and do what you want with it. I'm going to keep it as PG as possible because I don't want this thing to get flagged. But I'm sick of them. This has become nothing more than a photo op for a bunch of people to grandstand and basically make a mockery of this young man's death. It is an absolute disgrace how this has happened. I don't want to see these so-called race soldiers kneeling. Oh, we real with you. Of course, it's not just a tease. It's a spit in our face. That's what it is. They know exactly what they're doing. Oh, we stand. You don't stand. You know what? If you want to truly apologize, first up, round up the other three. In fact, I'll go one step further. Let's cancel all four of these clowns if you want to make a real change and have real justice. Get rid of those four clowns and pony up. How about reparations? You feel so bad about the plight of our people. Do something about it. But we know that's not going to happen. This is just a photo op, a senseless photo op, so they can get some brownie points, some clicks, some views, and some type of internet fame. That's all it is. And you can keep it. I want no parts of it whatsoever. Keep it as far away from me as possible. But again, the biggest slap in the face in this whole thing, outside of the senseless murder of Mr. George Floyd and countless others, and again, we could go through that list. That list is as long as the universe itself. Is the fact that they've not only just arrested one person, but they charged him with third-degree murder. That is the ultimate slap in the face. Why do I say that, ladies and gentlemen? Well, let me read, and this is through Wikipedia, by the way. There are only 3 states in the United States that have third-degree murder. Those 3 states are Florida, Minnesota, and Pennsylvania. So I'm going to deal with third-degree murder in Minnesota. Minnesota law originally defined third-degree murder solely as depraved heart murder without intent to effect the death of any person, causing the death of another by perpetrating an act eminently dangerous to others and evincing a depraved mind without regard for human life. In 1987, an additional drug-related provision, without intent to cause death, proximately causing the death of a human being, directly or indirectly, unlawful selling, giving away, bartering, delivering, exchanging, distributing, or administering a controlled substance, classified in Schedule 1 or 2, was added to the definition of third-degree murder. Obviously, we're not dealing with anything drug-related here. Up until the early 2000s, prosecutions under that provision were rare, but they began to rise in the 2010s. Some reports link this increase in prosecutions to the opioid epidemic in the United States. Minnesota law also defines the crime of third-degree murder of an unborn child, with the same elements of depraved mind and lack of intent to kill, distinguishing it from first or second-degree murder of an unborn child. Both third-degree murder and third-degree murder of an unborn child are punishable by a maximum of 25 years imprisonment. Now, listen closely. Again, without intent to effect the death of any person. So a knee to the back of this man's neck for over 8 minutes, that's considered without intent? That is definitely intent. There is no doubt that this clown should have been charged with first-degree murder. He meant to kill George Floyd. Period, point blank. The other 3 guys should have gotten maybe degree murder. If you want to argue, I'm going to give the other three guys third degree murder. I could get that. If they don't make it, they're guilty. Well, we already know that this is the setup. This was the setup. This is Eric Garner all over again. And if you're from New York City, I know, listen, Dale, you know that we know all about the Eric Garner thing. In fact, it's literally the same thing. I can't breathe. Except Eric Garner, there were 7 guys around him. One got charged and got acquitted, and he was in the chokehold. With George Floyd, there was a knee to the back of the neck. It's already set up for him to get he's not going to get any more than 12 and a half years. We already know this. And for them to insult us any further, I mean, they just keep insulting us. Then you wonder why these people are marching. Now, again, I'm not talking about the rioting and looting, because that's a whole different animal, and we know that. I mean, the Eric Garner thing is still an absolute disgrace. And if you notice, Eric Garner's mother was in Minnesota, along with others, including the Reverend Al Sharpton, which, you know, I'm not going to say that's a bad thing or a good thing. I mean, it is what it is at this stage of the game. But we know this is a setup. It's going to, first of all, take at least 6 to 8 months for them to start a trial. We don't know if they're even going to arrest the other 3. And you know it's bad when the so-called district attorney has the nerve to say it's going to be pretty hard to prosecute. So they're already setting the seeds for a garbage excuse as to why this clown is going to be found acquitted, when he should be not only convicted of first-degree murder. In fact, what should happen is the taxpayers of Minnesota should be given a break, and maybe somebody should give this clown a visit while he's waiting for trial. And they're talking about, oh, and this is the thing that also kills me. Oh, well, he's suicidal right now. And so what? What am I supposed to do? Feel bad for him? Are you kidding me? He's suicidal. Oh, he's contemplating. Well, you know what, dude? If you're thinking about it, you might as well be like Nike. Just do it. Just do it. Go ahead. Save us the dime. Please. And you know what? It's just coming out that the family had an autopsy done, and his death was caused by the asphyxiation. Of course it was. He had a darn knee in the back of his neck. That's what killed him. That's not, not intent to kill. That is obvious intent to kill. It is murder 1. It is not murder 3. Man, I don't care what they give him. I don't care if they give him a long thread of rope, give him a bunch of bed sheets, give him whatever he wants. Just make sure it's done. If you feel that bad. And you know what? The other 3 need to join him. That's justice, okay? Not waiting for a BS acquittal. Not waiting for, oh, well, he got 10 years. Well, at least that's something. And the worst part is, a lot of our people will go for it. Well, at least we got some justice. He got 10 years. It won't bring him back, but at least we've got something done. And if I hear any black person says that, then they deserve to get their hiney whipped. Because that is an absolute spit in not only the family of the young man's face, it's a spit in his legacy's face, and it's a spit in all of our faces. But I guarantee you, there's going to be some of us that take that route. Well, it's better than what some of us got. What, we're supposed to be happy with that? That's the problem with a lot of our people now. We settle for crumbs. And we're fine with it. How much longer do our people have to sit at the kiddie table? There's no seat at the table for you guys. And the sooner that we realize that, the better off we're going to be. And it's just come down the pipe that Governor Cuomo is going to impose a curfew on New York City. And the curfew is from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. What an absolute disgrace that is. Boy, you know what? They didn't give other communities a curfew when they're flipping over NYPD cars and paddy wagons and stuff of that ilk. They didn't give them one. But since it's our people, let's impose a curfew. This is an absolute disgrace, and they are making a mockery of Mr. George Floyd and his legacy. Not to mention all of our other fallen soldiers that have lost their lives due to these Ku Klux Klan cops. It's really a sin and a shame. We should march until they change it. Oh, you know I remember Desmond Robinson. I remember Amadou Diallo. I mean, please. What about Patrick Dorismond? I mean, the guy who got killed for literally saying no to drugs. Hey, what about Sean Bell? Remember that one? Please don't. Now you're taking me on another tangent, brother. But it's a shame how this movement, a peaceful movement, has been hijacked by other interest groups. And now we're not even talking about the legacy of Brother George Floyd. We're not even worried about people like Breonna Taylor. You notice they're not even talking about Ahmaud Arbery anymore. All they're talking about, this looters got to stop. And you know what? I'm only going to bring up this orange-faced bastard one time. This president. God, I hate even calling him that. Our people should just ignore what this clown has to say. And I guarantee you, unfortunately, since he is the president of the United States, you cannot ignore the title. But it would be nice if we could ignore this guy for at least a week. I guarantee you, if the American public were to just ignore this orange-faced guy for a week, he would commit suicide. Hey, we might have a 5-for-1 deal. That would be great. But alas, I doubt that's going to happen because too many of us feed into his garbage. This will probably be my last upload dealing with this until we start a trial because it's been hijacked already, and it's very sad. But in the meantime, we as a people, we must do a better job in honoring not only his legacy, but honoring the legacy of all of our fallen soldiers that have fallen victim to police violence, the blue wall of violence. If we want real justice, we have to take it. And I'm not trying to incite a riot or anything of that nature, but we cannot allow the status quo to keep going the way it's going. But we do have to be much smarter about it than this. We have to wake up, rise up, and stand together as a people. Because if we keep doing the same thing, what is the term? Insanity is expecting a different result from doing the same damn thing. Yeah, we have to be equipped to punch that bully in the eye. We have to clean up our own backyard because it starts inward before we can project outward. Please take care, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Claude White. Please like, share, and subscribe. Take care. God bless, and God bless the memory of Mr. George Floyd and all the other fallen victims of police brutality.